All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chair Anna Sexton, and I would like to welcome you to the November 29th, 2021 Neighborhood Advisory Committee virtual meeting. We will now call our meeting to order. The committee consists of 9 members, all appointed by the City Council, with representation from specific community sectors. Members shall be residents of the city or the city's extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction and shall reflect the socioeconomic diversity of Asheville. The term of office is 3 years. The committee was established to advise the City Council on neighborhoods within the City of Asheville's zoning and planning jurisdiction, and the committee shall have the following duties and powers. 1. Develop rules and bylaws for the conduct of its business, including but not limited to meeting schedules, officers, voting, and subcommittees. 2. Develop a plan to strengthen neighborhood identity and resilience, and to facilitate communication and cooperation between Asheville's neighborhoods and city offices. 3. Develop benchmarks and standards by which progress towards implementing the plan can be measured. And 4. Work on special projects that are consistent with the goals of the committee as assigned or directed by council. All committee members and staff are participating virtually, and we appreciate your patience as we work through committee meetings a bit differently. We are streaming live on our Virtual Engagement Hub, which is accessible through the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city website and also linked on the Neighborhood Advisory Committee page. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone by dialing 855-925-2801 and entering meeting code 9247. For those of you who plan to speak during our live public comment today, you will need to hit *3 to be put in the speaker queue. And for everyone out there with us today, welcome. I will now go through and introduce all committee members and city staff who are participating virtually. For our committee members, please make sure to mute your microphone if you are not speaking. And when you have a question or would like to speak, click the raise the hand, and then I'll ask you to unmute your microphone. And committee members, as I call your name, please say a quick hello. Again, I'm Anna Sexton. I'm the chair of the Neighborhood Advisory Committee, and I represent zip codes 28806 and 28728. Bobette Mays.
Yes, my name is Bobette Mays. Good evening. I'm the vice chair, and I'm at 28803 and 28704 in that area codes.
Greta Bush.
Hi, I'm Greta Bush. I live on the east side, but I represent at large.
JP Chalarka.
Good evening, everyone. This is JP. I represent 28801.
Wendy Hayner.
Good evening. I'm Wendy Hayner, and I represent zip code 28804.
Peter Abzug.
I'm Peter Abzug. I live in 28805, and I'm a member at large.
Sharon Sumrall. Do we have Sharon here with us today? I thought I saw her signed on.
Hey, Sharon, you're muted.
I'm sorry I'm late. And I'm Sharon Sumrall, and I live on Bowcatcher, and I represent 28805.
Thanks, Sharon. We also have Mike Wasmer, who is an at-large member who is not in attendance this evening, and Elizabeth Lycus Worley, who is also an at-large member who is not able to attend our meeting this evening. Our city council liaison is Kim Maroney. I don't believe Kim is on the call today, but we do have city and Buncombe County staff members with us. And so we have Jeremy Lett.
Hello, everyone.
Who's our neighborhood and community engagement manager. We also have Brenna Cook, who is the compliance manager for the Water Resources Department with the City of Asheville.
Hello, everyone.
Ooh. We have Zakia Bell Rogers, who is a community engagement specialist for Buncombe County.
Hello, everyone.
Leonard Jones, who is also a community engagement specialist with Buncombe County.
Good evening.
And Shannon Capizali, who is a planner with Buncombe County.
Hello.
Thanks, y'all, for attending. And to help folks who are following along with us in the audience, I'll state each section of the agenda aloud. And just a reminder to committee members to click the raise your hand icon to be recognized to speak and to state your name each time you comment. To start off this evening, we will go through approval of minutes for the October 25th, 2021 Neighborhood Advisory Committee meeting. I assume everyone has, well, I know that we're taking meeting minutes are being formatted a little bit differently, but go ahead, Greta.
Thanks, Anna. This is Greta. Before we approve them, I think there's a small edit. It says that the October's NAC draft minutes were approved, but I think that should be September. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we'd be approving October now, so I apologize. I'll make that correction.
Okay, just because it's permanent.
Sure. Good
Thank
deal.
you.
I will go ahead and entertain a motion for approval of our October 25th meeting minutes.
I second it.
Oh, Peter, I'll go ahead and do you want to make the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I get mixed up here? No, you make the motion. That's fine.
All right.
Just jumping ahead.
We'll have Peter's made the motion for approval of our meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
I'm
I'll
wondering,
second.
I'm wondering, do we need to go back and say in the motion that we'll approve it with the correction from the date of October, which should be September? If that should be put into the motion, that we're going to approve it with the correction of that, the month being wrong, I guess you'd say.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification, Babette. So do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, great. All right, we'll go through roll call now. Anna Sexton, myself, aye. Babette Mays,
Aye.
Greta Bush,
Aye.
JP Talarka,
Aye.
Wendy Hayner,
Aye.
Peter Abzug,
Aye.
and Sharon Summerall.
Aye.
Great, thank you all. The motion carries. Now I'll run through today's agenda, and following this review, we will acknowledge any public comments made. We'll receive staff activities and updates from Jeremy Lett. We'll finish up unfinished business, which is involving our position statement from the Neighborhood Advisory Committee on proposed open space ordinance amendments. We also have new business involving the Buncombe County Comprehensive Plan, lead and copper rule revisions, and a new NAC chairperson. We have updates regarding our liaison to the Multimodal Transportation Commission, and then we'll also go through agenda items for our potential agenda items for upcoming meetings. We do have one small change I want to acknowledge under our new business items 7A and 7B. Due to some scheduling challenges and changes, we need to swap items 7A and 7B. So we'll receive a presentation from the Buncombe County staff on the comprehensive plan first, followed by the lead and copper rule revisions from Asheville City staff. And so moving on to item 4 for public comment, no comments were submitted either by voicemail or email for today's meeting. Item number 5 is staff activities and updates, and I'll turn it over to Jeremy to go over those.
Hello, everyone. This is Jeremy Lett. 2 quick updates for the group. The first one is our neighborhood grants ended on November the 1st. So all of those applications were received. I've talked to all of our applicants to ask them clarifying questions about the grants, get any additional information, give them an opportunity to submit any additional documents. I submitted that information to our panelists, which are city staff members, and they have finalized their reviews of each application. So I should be making an announcement later this week on who those applicants are. Once those decisions have been made, I'll send NAC an email letting you know a little bit more information about the applicants. But we got about 21 applications in, some really good ideas. Again, we're still working with applicants. There's a couple of things we got to clarify just on the size of certain projects, et cetera. But got a lot of good applications on this, a lot of really good submissions. So I'll keep you abreast on that situation. Next is our Volunteer of the Year. So I've submitted some information to our NAC working group on Volunteer of the Year. We're going to finalize those details. We've made some revisions to the Volunteer of the Year form and just how we communicate that. And so hopefully by December the 1st, we'll have that final feedback and I can open up our Volunteer of the Year application. So I'll put that on Nextdoor. I'll look at doing a press release and getting that information out there so we can get some applications turned in by the month of December and we can announce one in January. So have that working group. We'll continue working and trying to get that process finalized. And at our next meeting, we should have an update for you. And that's all the updates and activities that I have for everyone right now.
Thank you, Jeremy. That was a very quick update. So we'll move on into item number 6, which is unfinished business. At our last meeting, we received a staff presentation from the planning department on the open space amendments and the proposed amendments to that part of the city's development code. And we were asked at that time to provide a position statement, but felt that committee members needed more time to review the proposed amendments in order to develop a sufficient position statement for city staff to carry on to the Planning and Zoning Commission and subsequently City Council. And so just a little bit of background on this. The Open Space Task Force was created following an unsuccessful attempt to pass an earlier version of amendments to the Open Space Ordinance of the City Code in August 2020. And so the task force, when it was created by city staff, the staff asked for members of the Neighborhood Advisory Committee to serve on that task force. Sharon Summerall stepped in as our primary representative, and I stepped in sort of as support or secondary rep. And it's been a very interesting learning process along the way, and have really valued Sharon's input and knowledge on the just the whole context of the whole process. We are now at a point where, again, city staff has these amendments that they've developed with the assistance of the task force. And as NAC, we have an opportunity to just provide input to planning and zoning, which is really the first hurdle or the first entity or organization to either move along the proposed amendments to City Council or to say that they are not in support of those amendments. So it's definitely an important role for NAC to play, and I really appreciate city staff allowing us to step into that role. What has happened is, in conversation with Sharon, have developed a position statement for NAC, and that was sent to you all this afternoon. So a little bit late, but hopefully you've had a chance to read through it. And this position statement acknowledges that there has been some positive movement with some of the proposed amendments to the existing open space ordinance. It also acknowledges some concerns expressed and shared by NAC members regarding tree canopy loss, regarding how affordable housing and stormwater management are incentivized through maybe some trade-offs with reductions in open space. It also acknowledges some concerns around buffer requirements and what that might mean for neighborhoods in terms of just screening and privacy as development continues. So what I think I would like to do is open up the floor for folks to either make a motion for approval of this statement or make some sort of motion to carry forward, whether it's this statement with amendments or whether NAC is not in support of the proposed amendments for open space. A couple of things to keep in mind are that city staff, I'll get to you in just a second, Sharon. I appreciate it. City staff are presenting these amendments to the Planning and Zoning Commission at P&Z's next meeting, which is this upcoming Wednesday. And so this is something that I think we want to come to a majority on, whatever direction that takes at this meeting. And we don't want to spend a ton of time on it because we have a pretty full agenda. But I do think that we need to acknowledge the opportunity that NAC has been given to provide feedback and guidance on these amendments so that we have something to carry forward to P&Z, whether that's for or against. And with that, I will acknowledge you, Sharon.
Thank you. So I want to say it's been a pleasure working with Anna on this because I come from a different point of view on open space. I was part of the original committee and I pretty much on Urban Forestry Commission, and I pretty much battled against this for 2 years. I want to clarify that staff started working with a subcommittee from Urban Forestry Commission. They did not like the demands that we were making. And so all of a sudden, unceremoniously, discussion ended, and all of a sudden we've got other members of the community involved, which we were fine with, but we were not notified that there was going to be any change in discussion on it, which is fine because working with the city, you roll with the punches. I voted for certain things on this amendment in order to try to get the other development side, and I'm calling the development side, to work more with the neighborhoods and the green infrastructure. And what I found is that to us that are on the green infrastructure, and I'll just talk about myself, there's other committees, other people in other committees that felt the same way. Development overruled us. Development's got a big voice in this community, rightly or wrongly, depending on what side you sit on the development. As Anna and I have discussed ad nauseum, is there's a need for affordable housing, and city is wanting to do infill, and we're all in agreement that we need more housing. As what does infill look like? And there is a huge amount of reduction in this open space that is required to equate what they're giving the developers so they can incentivize development. But it doesn't necessarily mean that development will happen with this reduction of open space. Also, they're using stormwater incentivization for credits on open space, which we're all for because we all live here. We know we need stormwater help. But considering how massively reduced that this open space is going to do for everything, it needs more time, it needs more discussion, and it needs more work, in my opinion. So I'm not going to go into my huge development issues, but we've got increase in impervious. We're double counting buffers, and it's very much in the weeds. And I like Anna's ability to go along and work with staff. I admire her for that because I'm not necessarily a person that goes along to get along. And Anna is wonderful at it. And we've had a lot of conversations on it, but I am entirely against this amendment for many reasons. And that's the short version. So you're lucky you got the short version. And thank you, Anna, very much.
Thank you, Sharon. It's been a pleasure working with you as well. And I appreciate our ability to talk through things, even if we may not agree entirely on each of those things. So, Bobette, please go ahead.
Yeah, Sharon, I totally agree with you. I live in a community where I live in Shiloh, and we have developers that are coming into our area, getting property, open spaces, property for little of nothing, and they consider it affordable housing. And it is causing an uprise in taxes for our seniors. And I think that developers, they don't go into places like Biltmore Forest. They cannot get into those places to build. So there's no affordable housing for them. But they're coming into our community, and they will start to infiltrate into any community they can, because that's what they're about. And they're saying affordable, but it's not really affordable for Asheville. It's not affordable housing that the people that live here can afford. So I'm with you, Sharon, that I don't even like the amendment. They need to go back to the table. They need to start talking to people that live in these areas, these communities. I represent my community. Strong-willed, have lived here, know the community, know the people. And unless you come into these communities and talk, because the developers have come in and talked to us really bad. They've said some very, really disrespectful things, only because they know they can get our land cheaper than they could somewhere else. So that's my take on that. I'm gonna leave it alone. Do like you, Sharon. That's my short version.
Thanks, Bobette. Greta, please go ahead.
I agree with what you all are saying. I also wanted to add, I made some notes after reviewing the materials again. And one thing that stood out to me is that I don't want Asheville to lower its standards to be on par with what all the other cities in the state are doing, which seems like that's what's being proposed. I think Asheville should be a leader in the green space community movement, whatever you want to call it. So lowering things to be on par with everyone else makes me uncomfortable. And I also think that lowering from 50% down to 15 is a large jump, and I think it's too far. And I don't know if I fully understand this, but it seems to me that if open space is going to be reduced by that much, that all of the open space that's left needs to be impervious. It can't be any sort of paved space at all, because that's not going to be helpful for stormwater. So I don't know if that's something that can be worked into this, like Asheville needs to, stand as a leader in this space or something like that. But generally speaking, I'm glad that you all came up with a statement, because I was wondering how we were going to go about that tonight. That's all.
Thanks, Greta. Do we have any other questions, or go ahead, JP?
I think that the only thing that I would like to see perhaps stated a little bit more assertively is that the statement is clear, yet it's a little bit ambiguous, or a little bit kind of hedging its position, its assertiveness. I mean, if we can look at the passion with which Bobette and Sharon have already articulated, there is a clear stance, and we know what the implications are. We can see the long-term implications. If the trend continues, we're going to see trends of smaller green spaces allowed, and therefore less canopies and less stormwater catching basements. So the implications are pretty clear to me. So I don't understand why we're hedging against saying what they are.
I think that in looking at the proposed amendments, trying to understand that open space is one component of development. There are other components of development dictated by the city's development ordinance, including zoning requirements and a whole other host of things that are maybe vehicles to some of these negative consequences more so than the open space ordinance is. And I have dipped my toes into code writing. It is not fun. It is incredibly tedious, and it is something that, yes, we can have an idea of what these implications are. At the end of the day, no one has a crystal ball, and a lot of the times these amendments aren't really felt until 5, 10, 15 years from now, after a lot of new development or a lot of time has lapsed for some of these regulations to go into effect. I am cautiously optimistic, although I recognize that I may be in the minority in saying this, that the balance that the city is trying to strike is not the perfect balance, but it is a better balance than where these amendments, or than where the existing language stands. I know that we are on a time crunch, and I want to let everyone else have a say. So go ahead, Sharon.
Real quick, there is an open space amendment in progress now that's being used and has been used that I deal with on technical review committee, and it is less onerous as this. I agree there needs to be changes. We have to be a growing community, but this was pushed through without proper vetting through the community. And just because they pushed it through doesn't mean that we have to take it as it is. We need to do something, but we don't need to rush this. If I hadn't raised my hand and put my foot down on this, this would have gone through 2 years ago. So I am saying that this is not a good amendment to go through as it is now. It's got some good things on stormwater in it, and it's confusing, but it has not been taken to the neighborhoods and given to all of us, like even urban centers they did. This is as important as urban centers, and they vetted urban centers. So I'm saying that we don't have to agree with this, but we can agree that changes do need to be made, and to do it in a more methodical manner as a city, because we are growing and we're growing quickly. And 5 years from now, look at what I've seen the last 5 years. We're going to be in a major mess in 5 years. And what we've got now is almost doable. All right. So that's my opinion on that. And thank you.
Thanks. JP, real quick.
Yeah, in closing, I think that, again, this problem is not new to us. I'm pretty sure that given other cities of similar size and potentially maybe that have grown at faster clips than we have, this problem has already been discussed. I think that, again, trying to undo 5 or 10 or 15 years of a bad thing that's let to go for that long, in my estimation, is too big of a risk. So that if we are able to use benchmarked studies from other cities or other municipalities across the country that have already faced this, that have had this problem in motion, and can look back with that level of time scale to see what the implications have been, I think is money better spent and time better spent looking at what has and hasn't worked in other places, rather than us trying to experiment with something where we hope for the best, but end up potentially in a position where reversing 15 years of a bad practice is much more difficult than getting it right from the beginning. And with that, I'll close.
Thanks, JP. This is Anna. What I would like to do now in considering the remaining time for our meeting this evening is to really open up the floor to you all to either entertain a motion for the approval of the drafted statement, or to entertain a motion for some sort of alternative, however the person who comes forward wants to phrase that alternative. Greta Bush.
Thanks, Anna. I just typed up 2 sentences that I want to propose we add to the statement that you've all written, which are NAC wants to see Asheville as a leader in open space and is disheartened to see the proposal to lower minimums to the state status quo. While lowering requirements from 50% may be seen as necessary, we recommend not going as low as 5 to 15%. What do people think of that?
I think that's, in my opinion, a great improvement, Greta. Thank you.
Cool.
Sharon?
I suppose if I have to compromise, which I can occasionally do, I would agree, but I would propose that we do not support the open space amendment as is currently presented before planning and zoning, and let it go at that. Because to answer JP, we did pull out from other cities, but unfortunately other cities have other city requirements, so it was very hard to try to adapt other cities into our methodology of how Asheville does business. Just to let you know, this just wasn't made up out of nowhere. We called out different stuff from different places. But I would propose an amendment that we oppose open space as its amendment as it's currently stated. And if Greta or somebody can come up with until another, I don't know if we need to say more than that until more involvement within the neighborhoods is asked of us or asked of the neighborhoods. I mean, I think the neighborhoods really needed to be involved in this other than just us on NAC.
Do you want to say like for the following reasons? Bullet.
Yeah, that would be good, Greta, if you could do that. Yeah, if you could. But I mean, that's what I propose because to me, I like how it got drafted out, but it sounds too positive, like it's a workable, it's a workable amendment. And for me, it's not a workable amendment. It could be. It has the implications of being workable.
Thanks, Sharon. Babette, go ahead.
Let me just say, I would say that I like Greta's points, but I was also would like to say that we would need to state that as we have reviewed the information for the amendment for the open spaces, and we have fully discussed this, that at this present time, we are not in agreement with what has been stated with the amendment. And then Greta's statement can come behind that. But it would show that we have discussed it, we have concerns, and that then that means that they would bring it back to us. What are your concerns? And then that would be when we could bring in, okay, that would take them time to process. Then they would bring in, well, what do you need? Well, we need more community, involvement. We need people to be involved and to know what the planning, zoning, and the city is proposing with these open spaces. But I think that if we have to always state ourselves as we have reviewed this, we have agreed on this, we have looked at it. And so it's not like we just sat down and said, okay, this is what it is and we don't like it. But they would have known that we actually took an active part in reviewing it, discussing it, and deciding that at this point in time, that we're not in agreement with, they have to know that we're not in agreement with the amendment, because if you don't, they will say that NAC says it's fine. And that's because I've done a lot with different organizations, and I've done a lot with developers, and they will tell you anything. And so I think that if we state it that way, and then you can add in what Greta has said, then that will make them come back and say, well, what is it that they think that we need to do that they don't like? Then that would give us an opportunity to voice more on what our opinions are as far as the community is concerned. How about that?
Thank you, Babette. Is that Jeremy, go ahead.
just citing the time, and it sounds like Babette made a motion, so
I did.
Okay.
So
all right. So Babette made a motion. Sorry, this is Anna. Babette made a motion, and Greta, I'm hoping that you can maybe chime in to repeat what that motion is, since you've been typing things up.
Yes, I think so. I was trying to type what you were saying, Babette. So I suppose, tell me if this is a good summary. of what we might say. NAC members have discussed the city's open space amendment, and we have not come to an agreement on what the city is proposing. Therefore, NAC rejects this amendment as is for the following reasons. 1, the city needs to solicit input from members of neighborhoods through educational and listening sessions. 2, NAC wants to see Asheville as a leader in open space. What I just said, blah, blah, blah. We're disheartened about it and don't lower the minimum so much. And 3, I was just writing up, NAC is concerned about, I'm trying to summarize these last 4 points here. So something like NAC is concerned about how the impacts of the proposed amendments relate to affordable housing, stormwater management, tree canopy loss, and buffers.
That's good.
All right, so we've got Bobette, who has made a motion to include additional language for what Greta just stated. And Sharon, go ahead.
I'll second it.
Okay, great. We will go ahead now, or any further discussion before we take a vote?
Got to go.
Okay, okay. All right, I will run through roll call. Bobette Mays,
Aye.
Greta Bush,
Aye.
JP Chalarka,
Aye.
Wendy Hayner,
Aye.
Peter Abzug,
Aye.
Sharon Summerall,
Aye.
and Anna Sexton, myself. I will also go ahead and say aye along with those changes. So with that, the motion carries, and want to just say thank you to you all for your contribution at this meeting, even though we are getting pressed for time, and to Sharon. It's certainly been a learning experience for me and a very challenging one, but I'm looking forward to moving ahead. With that, we will move on to item number 7, new business. And this evening, we will kick it off with a presentation on the Buncombe County Comprehensive Plan from Zakia Bell Rogers, Leonard Jones, and Shannon Capizzali. So I'll turn it over to you all. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for allowing us to have this presentation at your meeting tonight. I'm part of Buncombe County. The county is about to start a 2-year plan of drafting a comprehensive plan for Buncombe County for the next 20 years. And one of our goals is to be very intentional in our engagement with the community. And even though we know this comprehensive plan is for Buncombe County as a whole, and it may not change things exactly in the city of Asheville, but just as a native myself, we flow between the county and the city all the time. So when you think about a 20-year plan, you may find yourself out in the county in the next few years or so. And so this comprehensive plan is really a chance to hear from residents in Buncombe County, all residents, and we especially want to target our underrepresented communities, our rural areas, as well as people of color and Latinx communities, and all residents of Buncombe County, because the commissioners have kind of tasked us with the issue of trying to reach all corners of Buncombe County in this public engagement. So right now we find ourselves in the awareness phase to let community and residents know that this is coming, especially in 2022. And so tonight we have Shannon from our planning department that'll go a little more go into detail and about the comprehensive plan. And so I'm about to pass it off to Shannon if you're ready to present your screen. And again, thank y'all for this opportunity to share the comprehensive plan process with you.
Thanks. And I have not, I haven't used Google Meet before. I'm going to try to share my PowerPoint presentation. So tell me if this goes to the right place or not.
Shannon, it looks good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Totally different format. But anyways, so I'm Shannon Capizzali, and I'm a planner with Buncombe County. And Leonard, thank you for that introduction. And I just want to kind of add to that. We all know that there is so much kind of crossing back and forth between borders, and that what happens in the city affects the county. What happens in Buncombe County definitely spills over into the city. So sometimes we have kind of those boundaries, but what people actually do just crosses within those as if they were one place. So there's a lot of overlap between kind of our needs and the issues and the wants of our communities, even though we, sometimes in local government, we tend to look at kind of over there versus over here. So this is going to be a really great opportunity for us to think about how the cities and the other municipalities like Black Mountain, how they're all connected with the greater county area, and even how we're connected with our region, because we do have a lot of regional ties, and those things do impact what happens in the city or in the county. So I've got a really quick presentation. It's just a couple slides. How many of you all know what a comprehensive plan is? I know, the city did one not that long ago. Are you all really super familiar with what they entail? Okay. We've got we have a video that I could maybe just drop a link to it in the chat here, if you guys are able to get that, and feel free to share it or, watch it later. It's a good, just couple minute introduction to comp planning and what our goals are. I'm trying to figure out, let's see. How do I advance? There we go. Okay, so that's the link for anyone from the public that's watching if you can't see the chat room. But as we look into the next 20 years for Buncombe County, what we are trying to figure out, like I had mentioned, what are the community issues? What are needs and wants? What are the community's ideas that we need to be honed in on over a longer term? So, like recently we've done a strategic plan. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about that. That's more of a 5-year focus. We have, 1-year budgets. We have other type of planning that's always ongoing, but it really takes a much more narrow look. So the comprehensive plan, this is going to be the first one that Buncombe County has ever done. We've had a land use plan, but we haven't done a true comprehensive plan. So this is going to be really new for us and kind of a big process, which is why one of our goals is to reach all residents of the county. And to do that, it's kind of a 3-step process. So we're going to first work with the community to identify kind of what all those issues are. Then we're going to work on developing the plan. There's going to be kind of a feedback loop where we're bringing it back to residents and asking, hey, this is what you said. This is what we heard. Here are some vision statements. Here are some strategies and some goals for what we think we can do to meet some of those needs and address some of the challenges. Does that sound right? And then once we can get to kind of a community agreement on that, that's when we can adopt that plan. And then the real hard work begins, which is trying to figure out how to implement different priorities and budgets, make regulatory changes, and do even future planning to bring to life what we've said we want to do in the future. So that's kind of how the process works. And you'll have to excuse me for one moment. I'm working from home tonight, and this child has escaped from his father. So let's see. So one of the things that we like to talk about is what the actual kind of deliverables of the plan are. Like, what can this plan do? And there's a lot of different ways that a comprehensive plan to create change in a community. So we're talking about being a guiding document for future land use plans. The creation of our future strategic plans is going to come out of this document. And then creating some small area plans, which we've never really had in the county. You guys are really used to that more in the city, where you have kind of really defined neighborhoods. But creating more defined communities in the county is something that one of the goals that we have. Creating new policy or priorities out of this, helping us with budget decisions. Those are all things that the plan can help with. Even qualifying for different types of federal and state funding. So, there's just a lot of stuff that will come out of this. And that's really kind of the meat and potatoes of why we create that plan, is to give us that document. As far as who is involved, like I said, our goal is to reach everybody in the county. And we have a really strong desire to include youth in that. So not just talking to adults, but talking to the younger generations who are really going to see more of the impact of this over the next 5 and 10 and 20 years. There will be some stakeholder groups that will be identified. We do have a county planning board that's going to be really involved in kind of reviewing our processes and giving us feedback. One thing we don't have on here, there is a steering committee that has already been selected, and it's about 23 residents of the county who applied and were selected by the commissioners to represent different component areas. So people that have either personal or professional experience in areas like housing or transportation or things like that. So they're going to be working really hard to act as like a sounding board for our residents. We'll also have a technical advisory committee that'll be providing data and kind of expertise in different areas to both residents and to departments and staff. And then there's the planning department, which is kind of helping keep all those wheels moving as we go. So at the moment, we are just entering phase 2, which is establishing the vision and the goals. We've launched the project. We've kind of gotten the website up and gotten some branding out, and we're kind of on to a couple of weeks now of putting out a newsletter and kind of getting people signed up so they can see when surveys are coming down the road and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to be moving into phase 2 next month. And that's really our first community engagement window. So we will start going out to more events. We're going to start going out into the community and trying to, meet people where they are at events that we host, but also at places where people just naturally congregate, at churches, at their kids' schools, and at other places where we can kind of just take a moment of their time and not have to pull them into kind of a more formal meeting like that. And then finally, this is just a really quick summary of kind of what's happening now that you all could be involved in or that you could tell your communities about, and then what's going to be happening starting next month. So we do have a survey online right now. It's really kind of a quick soundbite survey. We're just asking people, what's a word or two that is kind of a description of your vision for the county in the future? And people can just put in their word, and we're going to create kind of a neat visual that we can refer back to as we're starting to form that community-wide vision. We've also got some kids postcards online where kids can provide a drawing or write some information about what they think is important. We've been posting that on our Flickr gallery on the website, so people can kind of share those images and see what kids are saying is important to them. We can also, at this point, come to any community events that are going on. If you want to shoot us an email and say, hey, can you guys come out and hand out information or answer questions or talk to people at my event or my church gathering or something like that, we have staff that can do that. Trying to push that newsletter really hard because that's the best way to kind of know everything that's going on. And then if you are interested in some printed material, we can give you handouts and flyers or anything like that that would be useful. So that's right now. And then starting next month, as we go into our community engagement phase, that's when we'll start rolling out kind of the big surveys, the surveys that are going to get into more detail about what people think are priorities, where they think that we need to be focusing, and how they think that we should be addressing some of the big issues. We'll be going out to more meetings, and we can actually offer some activities to groups rather than just giving out information. If you have events or wanted to invite us, we could come out and do some planning activities, charrette style activities with your group. Also going to be rolling out student activity kits so that elementary school, middle school, and high school teachers, kind of like a meeting in a box where they're going to have some really simple instructions that they can do with their class and be able to get feedback from all of their students that we can feed right into our surveys and use that information from them. So that's what we have going on. I don't know if anybody has some questions. I'm happy to answer any of those.
Sharon, go for it. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a question. If I sign up for the newsletter, Are you going to send me a link to the surveys, or am I going to have to hunt down the surveys?
So the newsletters, we have direct links to those surveys in the newsletter, and the goal will be that while those surveys are up, we'll continue to have a link in every newsletter until those surveys close, so that if you missed, last week we began advertising. If you missed last week, we're still going to have just a little blurb about it in all the upcoming ones too, so that anyone who's added later will still see that.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else? All right.
Wendy, go ahead.
Thank you, Anna. Yes, Shannon. When you're going out into the neighborhoods, is it possible to let us know which neighborhoods you're planning on going to, so we can also go with you and answer any questions that the people might have?
So we have been working on a mapping activity where we're trying to identify kind of what the neighborhoods are throughout the county, which ones really need to be targeted because they have not in the past been engaged, or maybe it's a neighborhood where people have a harder time getting out to a more formal meeting downtown or something like that. So I think, Leonard, I don't know if you have any insight into that. It would be really helpful to know like the best way to notify this group. Is that?
Well, I think one of the things, if you have any suggestions or recommendations for us, if you could, I can give Jeremy my contact information to share with this group as well. But if you have a particular neighborhood that you would like us to go in, just like Shannon was saying, we're working on a mapping exercise. So if you can give us some recommendations, we'll add that to the mapping schedule and let you know when we plan to hit those particular areas.
This is Anna. Just wanted to say thanks, y'all, for coming to present to us tonight and also sitting through our open space discussion while waiting to present here. But just want to also piggyback on what you all have said on how important it is to get as much just sort of comprehensive response and input from county residents as much as possible, and us living in the city of Asheville, seeing ourselves as county residents too, and seeing how some of the impacts on sort of the fringes of city limits, those are county things that also really impact us too. So considering how to get involved as much as possible so that we can provide good input for plan development. But thanks, y'all. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. And I'll put my contact information also in the chat as well.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Thank y'all.
We'll go ahead and move on to the lead and copper presentation by Brenna Cook. Brenna, are you?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Y'all let me know when you can see it.
Oh, it's cutting in and out a little bit. Oh, yeah, it looks like we've got shared screen.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm Brenna Cook. I'm the compliance manager for the Water Department with the City of Asheville. And in December of 2020, the EPA passed the lead and copper rule revisions. So we just want to let y'all know how it'll affect customers. And I'm also hoping on how to get feedback on how to reach customers, because we are going to have to do some community outreach as well. So first, I'm just going to go over the history of the lead and copper rule, just to give you some background information. Our lead and copper action levels, the lead and copper rule revisions, what those new ones entail for us, our response and responsibilities with these new revisions, and any potential responsibility for water customers. So the first lead and copper rule was passed back in 1991. And basically what it entailed was collecting samples in customer homes to ensure that the lead and copper levels did not exceed action levels that were set by the EPA. And we also at that time began treating the drinking water to reduce corrosion in the service lines and in household plumbing. And the city has always met these requirements of the rules. We've always treated water as we're supposed to. So the action level for lead is 15 parts per billion or 0.15 parts per million. And the copper action level is 1,300 or 1.3 parts per million.
Hey, Brenda, give us. I'm sorry. Some of our members are not viewing the presentation, so give us one second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're
I
fine. So
thought y'all were good.
No, it's okay. I think some of us can see it and some of us are not able to see it. So we're going to take a second to troubleshoot.
Okay. I did go to full screen on my screen. Do you think that would have messed it up?
It shouldn't have.
I just see a black screen. Like it's just a big box.
What about now, Greta? Can you?
No. If I could try refreshing. I don't know if I'll get kicked off.
I was going to say, for those of you who can't see it, I wonder if refreshing might help.
I'll try. And if it doesn't work, I'll try logging in on a different type of browser. Maybe that's it.
Oh, okay.
So everyone else can see it? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brenda. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I know this is a lot to listen to if you can't see it. So are y'all ready for me to move forward?
Oh, I can see it now.
Okay, sweet.
You're good. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. Just happy to be patient. And if I'm talking too fast or if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask while I'm doing it. So the health effects of lead can cause damage to the brain and kidneys in adults, and in children under 7, it can slow development and potentially cause learning and behavioral problems. Oops. So like I said, in December of 2020, EPA passed the new lead and copper rule revisions. The main focus areas are different sampling locations and protocols to find more sources of lead in drinking water. So we'll basically be reaching out to a whole different pool of homes that we'll test from. We'll establish a trigger level to ensure earlier mitigation. So instead of waiting so basically what we're doing now is we're on reduced monitoring and we test 50 homes every 3 years. And at the action level, at the 90th percentile of those homes. So we have to stack them up in ascending order. And if we're at that 15 parts per billion for lead or 1,300 for copper, which that's not an issue, but lead is the bigger thing, we have to go back to more sampling, that kind of thing, and sample more often. So that trigger level is now going to be 10 parts per billion instead of 15. They're also requiring us to complete lead and service line replacements on the public and private side if we exceed that 10 part per billion action level. They're also going to require us to test in schools and daycare facilities that are licensed daycare facilities, and test in all elementary schools. And if high schools and middle schools want to participate, we can do that, but we will be required to test in the elementary schools. And we'll also be testing to identify and provide information to homeowners and the public, the location of lead service. We've done some potholing in certain communities, and we've also interviewed like our water maintenance employees that have been here for several years and some that I've known for years, even before. They've never seen a lead service line, but there is a potential of still possibly being some because we have not kept the best records due to changing different pretty much service request databases. So we're just going back to revolve those, but we have to know the homeowner side, and that has never been documented. We did contact the county building inspections office, and they checked off if it was an approved plumbing material, but they didn't specify what the material was. So we're basically starting from scratch on that. So what we've done so far in April 2020, we reviewed proposal from consulting firms to help guide us in this. And we also, like I said, gathered data on our service, what data we have on our service line materials. We also began working with our GIS for a public map of those service line points. We also started in June 2020. Our crews and contractors are documenting what we see when we do neighborhood improvement projects or during routine repairs. If we're repairing a service line, we can usually see both sides of the service lines while we're in there, and we're documenting what we're finding. And then we were also able in December 2020 to contract with 120 Water Audit. We've also, sorry, I did not update my presentation. We've also completed about 55 potholes, and we are seeing some. We have not seen any lead service lines, as I've said, but we are seeing a lot of galvanized, and I'll go into that a little bit more in a second. So just so that you're clear on the homeowner's responsibility, from the water meter back is the customer's responsibility, and from the water meter back to the main is the city responsibility. So if we have an exceedance, we are responsible for replacing our side, but we also have to work with the customer to replace their side. EPA is looking into coming up like with that new bipartisan rule that the Biden administration is passing. We're hoping to get grants to help people who cannot afford to replace their service line. But the biggest thing that we're doing is we are treating the water to make sure hopefully we don't even have to do that. But we are doing testing and potholing just to make sure we will meet those requirements that will start in 2024 with this new rule. So any lead service lines or lead fittings on the city side of the meter replaced as soon as possible when found. Testing will be provided if any work is performed on a lead service line or a galvanized line preceded by lead fitting or lead service. To explain why we're doing it on a galvanized line is back in the day, galvanized line is basically a galvanized line is an iron pipe, and you can't, iron is hard, you can't bend it. So they use lead fittings to connect it to the water main. And what they found after the Flint incident is lead, if the water's not treated properly, lead can leach from those lead fittings and then coat the inside of galvanized lines. So that's why we're focusing on galvanized more for us, because we're not finding any lead service lines, but we're hoping that we're testing at any place we are finding galvanized lines when we're doing the potholing. So far from the 55 we've done, we found about 25. So it's been about half. All the lead samples that we've taken have all been below the detection limit. So that lets us know that we are treating the water properly, but we're wanting to reach out to more areas just to make sure everything's doing as we're supposed to. If we do see that a lead is being done, water pictures will be provided for customers if work performed on lead service line on either side of the meter, and if lead results are above the action level. Sorry. The customers who have lead, galvanized, preceded by lead connections, or any unknown material will be notified annually, including how to reduce exposure, any health effects language, which is basically what I read to you in the previous slide, and resources on how to get their service line replaced. Lead service line replacement plan, we have to have that in place by 2024, and that will include how much we'll have to replace each calendar year, where the money's coming from to do that on our side, and then any grants that we hopefully will be able to obtain through that bipartisan rule. Only a full replacement counts. So like if we, for some odd reason, do not meet that action level or that trigger level, to meet the rule requirements, we have to replace our side plus the customer side. So we have to do everything we can to make sure we can do this. We are working on a funding strategy for service line replacement, but with the Sullivan Acts, I don't know if y'all know that much, but basically we're our own entity and we cannot give money to our customers, being a private entity. We're an enterprise fund. So what we have to do is set up a grant through a private organization to hand out that money. Hopefully that made sense. Sorry about that. For schools and daycare testing, the revisions require all elementary schools and licensed daycare facilities to be tested. As I said, if a high school or middle school requests testing, we are required to collect those samples. All results will be made available to the public, and we'll have a website up. We're hoping by late 2023 to have like the interactive map where you can look up your address and see what you have. If it's an unknown, that would let people know that they need to contact us. And utilities, and also school results as well. Utilities can give schools and daycares advice on how to resolve any issues, but we can't fix them for them. We just can guide them. And we can recollect samples once a resolution has been applied. We are creating a lead prevention and awareness program. It's called LEAP. We do have the website up on the Water Resources webpage. The community, we're hoping to have community meetings in areas that are affected by service line inventory or affected customers. We've created a lead hotline and email for questions on the LEAP website. There's free lead testing available for all City of Asheville water customers, and there's annual reminder. We will be putting out annual reminders for customers affected. So if we find out they have a lead service line, a galvanized preceded by lead, or any unknowns, we have to send out annual reminders. Hopefully they'll get people to be aware, one, if they do have galvanized preceded by lead or a lead service line, or if they have an unknown, it's possible they don't have either one of those, but it will help us build our inventory. So potential responsibility for water customers. We hope you follow the recommended guidance to reduce lead exposure that's on the LEAP website, or if you receive any letter, please don't ignore it. We ask all customers participate in our service line inventory study. We have to have a service line inventory that we can put out to the public, and the more participation we have from customers, that's why we're hoping to do the community meetings, because like I said, we're starting from scratch, especially on the customer side, so that we can get customers to do that. Basically, the inventory doesn't take long. It's either enter your basement or crawl space, and we can see what it is coming in. We also have lead swab test kits that you can sign up for, where customers can do that themselves if they're not comfortable with someone from the water department coming into their home. Or if they know what they're looking at, they can just call me and tell me. I'm taking whatever we can get. And then also, if we, for some odd reason, do not meet the trigger level or action level, they'll participate in the lead service line replacement plan, should they be contacted about replacement. And also, part of the regulation is once we start in 2024, we're going to have to do 2 rounds of 100. If you're contacted to participate in the lead and copper testing, we ask that you do, because we cannot do this without you to meet this regulation. So the lead prevention hotline is the 828-259-5962, or if anybody has any questions, they can email leadprevention@asheville.nc.gov. I know that was a lot to take in. Is there any questions that y'all may have? Go ahead, Greta.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, what's the LEAP website? I'm at the city website in water.
If you go to the water resources under departments, if you go to departments, they didn't do a good job at putting it out front. And then in the green column, it says lead and copper.
Oh.
That's it.
Okay.
Sorry. It is not.
Yeah, they should go from the homepage to water to that landing page.
Yeah.
But I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But it's up there. Basically, we are doing a potholing thing. We've had a budget to do 100. Like I said, we've done 55. We tried to reach out to older homes, but we're hoping to reach all neighborhoods as much as possible. One of the reasons I asked to present here was to reach out to neighborhoods may not answer a letter to certain customers. We're trying to find homes that were older, like built in the early 1900s to about the mid 1950s. So if you weren't reached out to, that might be why. But we had pretty good sign up, and then it just sort of died off. So we have been using Able Alert to reach out to certain neighborhoods. Because we had a meeting last week the theory is if we know we have old services, water line services to the meter in a neighborhood that probably needs to be replaced within the next 10 to 15 years, then the homes may potentially have that as well. So like we reached out to the Beaver Lake area this past week. We've had a lot of success, but if y'all have any suggestions on community meetings, that kind of thing, just so we can get this out. And when people will participate, we're happy to do that. I'm happy to come to any community meetings that you may have whenever as possible. And that's pretty much the gist. Do y'all have any other questions?
Go ahead, Greta.
Just a quick one. Can you explain potholing? What do you mean when you say that?
So when we're potholing, basically what we're doing is digging a small hole, and what that has basically consisted of is we remove the meter box at your property edge, if your meter's on your property, and we're looking at the customer side and our side coming in, and that'll let us know what the service line is. And then we're also we have done like a second hole on the customer's property, but we found if they have plastic pipe, that's very hard to locate. So, and then sometimes the service lines are so deep, it's hard to hand dig and get into there like we're doing. So we have been entering customers' crawl spaces or basements to just get that second site where we can see where it's coming in.
Got it. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Not everybody knows what potholing is.
This is Anna. I'm glad that you asked that, Greta, because I was wondering the same thing.
No.
Has this been posted in like the neighborhood news and updates, Jeremy? Do you know that goes out bi-weekly, like the city neighborhood news and updates? I think that would be a great way to reach folks. And also just neighborhood advisory committee with the different sort of registered neighborhoods. At one time we had contacts for folks for different neighborhood organizations, and I think just working probably with Jeremy too to get that information to just do email blasts to those folks might be a good way to get it out as well.
I'll let you send me that will you send me that contact list, Jeremy? Whatever. And then I guess is there anything else y'all have? If not, I'll let y'all go on to what y'all need to do.
I don't think we have any other questions, but thanks so much for presenting some technical material to us and explaining why it's important we participate. I think if we could get a copy of the presentation, that would be really helpful too, just to help us sort of reabsorb some of the material. But thanks, Brenna. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day, and I'll send Jeremy the presentation where he can forward it forward.
Thank you. Take care. All right. Moving right along. So the last item in new business is a new NAC chairperson. I this evening am formally resigning from my position as the Neighborhood Advisory Committee chair. I have actually accepted a position with the city of Asheville and am not able to continue on in this capacity. So I am hopeful that I will continue working with you all on NAC in some ways, or even on additional organizations. But what that means is, according to our bylaws, under Article 3, Section 3, that in the event of the death, resignation, or removal of the chairperson, the vice chairperson shall assume the chairperson's duties until such time as the NAC shall elect a new chairperson. So what that means is I am handing chairperson duties over to Babette this evening. Yeah, Babette, you're gonna do great. And so I believe that Babette will remain in that role until the next NAC annual meeting where a vote will be taken. But I do also think that in upcoming the December NAC meeting, there will be discussion regarding a new vice chairperson, as well as a new liaison to the Multimodal Transportation Commission, and any other sort of housekeeping idea or items like that, in addition to filling the soon-to-be vacant role for the 28806-28786 representative. So Thank you all for allowing me to be your chair and learning on the fly every single meeting. It's been a good challenge. So it's bittersweet. Sharon, go ahead.
You're fabulous, and I'm going to miss you. Absolutely. So, I mean, you've been a great chair. Absolutely. And you made being on NAC easy, understandable, and flow. And having sat on a couple of committees, I can tell you that that doesn't happen very often. So thank you for that.
Thank you for those kind words. I know that I will be working with you again in the future in my new role. So
Can I ask, what is your new role?
oh, sure. I will be stepping into a planner position with the Transportation Department beginning on January 3rd. So I'll be getting to work with Jessica Morris and Lucy Crown on a lot of multimodal related projects and just any other projects. I'm sure that there's, it's I feel like I have some sense of ongoings with the city as a resident and being on this committee and multimodal, but I know that there are so many other things going on that I'm excited to learn about and be a part of. So that's where I'll be.
Congratulations. You will be very missed.
Thank you. I will miss you guys as well, and hope to be able to serve as a resource for you all into the future. So.
And Bobette, we're cheering for you, and we're happy that we have a new leader. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Let us know
I
if
could
you
never
need
be.
anything.
Anna and I started this together when she came to me and asked me if I would be be vice chair, if she would be chair, and neither one of us knew what we were in for, but we got it done, and she will be missed. No one can take Anna's place. Anna has a different perspective on everything, and she's been everywhere. So we know, but you will be missed, and you will be called on. And I hope that in the December meeting when we do meet, I just want to put out there that that it's an awesome task. I have a lot to learn. I'll have a lot to read. I have a lot to research. I'll have a lot of questions. And I hope that when a vice chair is picked, as somebody that'll be just as committed to want to work together to do things that we need to get done for NAC.
Well said, Bobette. All right, we are catching up on time, which is great. We'll move on to our NAC member updates on other boards. So since we've buttoned up, at least for now, the open space task force work that NAC has been doing, all that remains is just the monthly multimodal transportation commission update. And we had our October meeting just a few days, I think the Wednesday after our last NAC meeting. So at that meeting, we discussed not having a November meeting. So we're actually going to combine our November and December meeting jointly with the Downtown Commission. The Multimodal Transportation Commission was also introduced to the city's new traffic engineer at our last meeting. We received the same presentation from the Office of Data and Performance that NAC received at its last meeting. And then we received a presentation on the Thompson Street Open Streets event that was held on October 16th. And so that was held really spearheaded by the Oakley Neighborhood Association, and they partnered with AARP and Asheville on Bikes. And if you're not familiar with open streets events, they're events that temporarily open streets to people by closing them off or restricting access to motor vehicles, to cars. So Thompson Street was closed from Stoner Road to Glendale Avenue for an afternoon, and the section that was closed essentially follows the path of where the Swananoa River Greenway is planned to go in. And Michael Stratton, who is, I believe, a co-lead for the Oakley Neighborhood Association, serves on multimodal, and so he gave us his presentation, and by all means, it sounds like it was a really great success. It was a great partnership between several different organizations. It sounds like they had a lot of opportunities to engage younger folks. They had some kids events as well, and had a lot of people come out. Elizabeth had suggested that perhaps a presentation be placed on an agenda or a future NAC agenda where Michael can come in and present to you all, because I do want to talk with him. It sounds like maybe the presentation that we received from AARP several months ago sort of was maybe planted a seed, or at least created a communication line between the neighborhood association and AARP to sort of leverage some of AARP's resources and help to get this done, which would be really cool if that was the case. But I think having him come and speak to you all about how it could be replicated in other neighborhoods, if that's something any of you or your neighborhood residents might be interested in, would be really good. So that ties into our next item, which is agenda items for upcoming meetings. Already mentioned the Thompson Street Open Street event presentation. Go ahead, Sharon.
I have a question back to your presentation. You said new traffic engineer. Is that someone that replaced Ken Putnam, or is this somebody additional, or what is this?
No, so Ken still remains as the director of transportation, if I'm not mistaken, but Andrew Cybor had left the city a while ago, and this person is stepping into his role.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, so additional agenda items for consideration for future meetings also include boards training, which we've talked about for some time, and also an update on the Reimagining Public Safety Initiative / a presentation by a community resource officer with the police department. But if there are any other agenda items that or ideas that come to mind, reach out to Jeremy and or Babette. And with that, our next regular meeting under item 9 is scheduled for Monday, December 27th, 2021, and it remains virtual. So check on the city's engagement hub for more directions on how to participate. Greta, I see your hands raised.
Yes, I just wanted to ask about that December meeting. If I am remembering correctly, in the past, we used to not have a meeting in December because of the holidays. I know that I won't be able to make that meeting, and I don't know if how things are going to roll with everybody else, but I think we should talk about it.
Sure. I have no skin in the game, but anyway, yeah, Jeremy, go ahead.
Greta, I'm glad you brought that up, because even when I was looking at the calendar, 2 days after Christmas, I know it might be a little dicey. What I will say in full transparency is I think about 20, no exaggeration, boards canceled their November meeting because of the holidays. And it looks like that same pace is happening for December, where it's just a really tricky time. So I'll say that with the updates that I want to provide, I'm more than willing to send that in an email, and then we can meet in January. I think that'll give us some time to get some things together. So that's my stance on it. Just let me know so I can update Sarah, who does all the planning for the meeting for December. But I can send y'all updates through that, and we can schedule a January meeting. It's fine with me. I'll have to put that out there.
Do we need to make a motion?
Probably.
Do we?
That was going to be my question, but I think we can go ahead, just out of caution, do that. And no, we don't.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm just going to make a motion that we not have our December the 27th meeting, and we'll meet again in January.
I second.
Great. So Babette made the motion, Greta seconded. This is Anna, and Babette Mace.
Aye.
Greta Bush.
Aye.
JP Chalarka.
Aye.
Wendy Hayner,
Aye.
Peter Abzug,
Aye.
and Sharon Summerall.
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. So
Yay.
NAC will not have its December meeting, and we'll have a meeting in January with a date to be determined. I will now adjourn the meeting unless any objections. Oh, go ahead,
Just
Sharon.
a quick question. I'm sorry. I'm looking at, because we've got a couple months, this re-imaging public safety update. Where does that come from, and where is the information on that? Is there a link, or is there a discussion somewhere on this, or is this just something we're going to all come up in our brains and discuss?
No, I've been working with the community resource officers, and they're having a bunch of meetings and doing a lot of stuff in the community that they want to bring back and talk about. So hopefully Colby Fox will be our representative that can come. And then we also have a new sergeant in the CRO, so maybe he can come and talk about some of the stuff that they're trying to do. So I'll get those materials to you if they can confirm. They're always really busy. I can't nail them down, so I'll get that material to you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Greta, go ahead.
Are we just counting on the fourth Monday of every month? So the next meeting would be January 24th?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
I'd like to have it on my calendar. Thank you.
Very good.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes, happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah.
I will now adjourn the meeting unless any objections.
We're gonna miss you, Anna.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
miss you guys too.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Please email me if
Bye.
I can be a resource.
Don't
I'm gonna
say
ask you a
that.
question.
I wouldn't say that. You'll be hearing from me. You know.
I know. I already knew I would anyways. All right. So adjourned, everyone. Have a great night.
You
Thank
too.
you.